Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's funny because I said I wasn't going to do this ever again.
And I told you that you had to keep it because I knew we would do it again.
That's crazy.
All right, let's dig.
Let's dig.
Okay.
Okay.
We are so excited and pumped. We can't believe that we are back here for another season, another episode of Let's Dig. Babe, we're back
Yeah, we're back. It's wild because I remember we talked about this. Um, what? We talked about this
so
uh,
many times.
several times, and I
Yeah,
was just like, no, we're not going to do it. Unplug it, throw in the towel, set it all on fire. Like, I just don't want to dig anymore.
it's true. And I always had a feeling, I always believed it would come back around when it was the right time and the right season.
Yeah. And even just sitting here talking about this, like I'm tapping my feet,
You
like
are.
I feel super anxious and nervous. But you know what? Like we we dug ourselves in a hole,
We
right?
dug ourselves in a hole.
We talked about stuff that we weren't ready even to talk about, and we did. We went through one of the craziest years. Pandemic was a crazy year. That one, everything caught up with us. I mean,
It really did.
and the word deconstruction, right, was probably one of the most popular hashtags of that year, the year afterwards. And we went through full deconstruction, which is crazy. And then we went through reconstruction.
Yeah.
We've been married for what, going on 14 years now, and it feels like just 3, 4 years because we had to honestly start everything all over, which is crazy.
Yeah. I think part of that process for us was really digging all the way to the bottom. And I remember us standing in the kitchen, and I remember saying, I think we've dug ourselves in a hole that we cannot get ourselves out of. And I knew we needed help. Like we were having these hard conversations, and there were so many times where we felt so distant. There were so many times where I mean, we thought we were done. Like we thought we were so broken that we couldn't be repaired. And I remember saying like I think we need a therapist, a counselor, somebody to help us talk ourselves out of this hole because we're just so deep and it feels so broken and that it feels like we can't save this
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we're here.
We're here.
We made it
And
through.
we're different.
Yeah, we're different. Talk about different too was crazy because like we didn't realize how much our childhood, our infancy, like our upbringing, our culture differences. We didn't realize how different we were too. Getting married at a very young age, which was crazy. People even to this day when people ask like, "Hey, oh, you're married?" I say, "Yeah, yeah." How long? I say like almost 14. People say, "What? How old are you?"
They say I'm like, "Yeah, I got married when I
Yeah,
was 7."
yeah. I was like, "Yeah, I was a baby. Yeah, I was a baby when we got married." But now we think about it, like, man, like we were.
We were, and you couldn't tell us nothing of the sort when we got
Yeah,
married. I actually, because of the hometown that I came from in small town in Indiana, I actually felt like I was late getting married. I was late to have kids. My first kid was at 27 with you. Like, I felt like that was super late
yeah,
for who I grew up with, the kids that I went to school with. Like, I was a late bloomer, if you'd want to say, like, and so, but now fast forward to where we are now and looking back, like, we were so young. We were just in love. We were um, in ministry, and we were just ready to go change the world.
yeah. It was crazy. And as we're even doing this, talking about this, just on a microphone, I'm like, got a camera right here in front of my face. People probably watching, you guys are probably watching, thinking, like, okay, what are they even talking about? We were married for 10 years when we decided to launch a podcast. And our podcast, as it's called right now, it's called Let's Dig. It's basically us letting you guys into our conversations, things that we're hashing out, things that we are currently dealing with in our home, right? Financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, even with our talents, everything, physically, everything that we're dealing with. We decided to say, you know what? While we're dealing with these things, we know that everybody deals with these things. Everybody does. Everybody deals with this. Even growing up in the church, it was shown to us that our leaders and our pastors, things like that, didn't argue. And so we thought every time we argued, like something's wrong with us.
Mhm.
My parents never actually even liked to even argue. So I always thought if we argued, like we're broken, we're messed up. And we realized, like, no, everybody goes through these things. So we decided to start a podcast many years ago to say, you know what, let's hash all this stuff out, you know, and then let's talk about it, right? Let's dig, right? So that people can know that we all deal with these things. And so we did that. And several episodes in, we started realizing, like, man, we are digging and talking about topics that we haven't really figured out. Like, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of it too, though, was we were having those conversations. We felt like there was a lot of people in other circles around that just weren't showing those weaknesses, or not even weaknesses. They were just weren't showing reality. Like looking up to mentors of marriages and thinking that they never fight. That's unrealistic expectations.
Right.
And it's unfair to newlyweds when they're fighting and think, wait, did we make a wrong decision? So I felt like we felt that burden of like, hey, we're just going to show married couples it's okay to fight and here's how to fight and all these other things. And I think we just got slammed with the combination of having a preemie in January of 2020 and then COVID and then all the racial tension that ended up coming through in 2020. I think that those combinations of things really stripped off some things off of our marriage that we didn't even really realize were there.
Right.
And that's where we got to that place of like, oh my gosh, we really messed up in some of the things that we built our marriage on, the foundations that we built our marriage on. And then it felt like a separation. I remember hearing this term of a shadow spouse and realizing that that's what I had been all those 10 years with you
Yeah.
because that's what I thought a good Christian godly woman does is hides behind her husband and supports her husband in whatever he says. And I knew that I chose you because I trust you and I know you hear from God. So whatever you say, okay, let's do it. And just really finding myself behind you. Like, I'll take
Right.
care of the kids. You just go do what God's called you to do, and I'll be over here. Um, so there were so many factors that got thrown at us with the same of most people, right? Like, most people dealt with things they had never dealt with before
Yeah.
2020. Um, but I think all those factors exposed us, and we had already been on this journey of digging in front of people.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point of like, oh, we can't dig this out in front of people anymore.
Yeah, yeah, which is crazy. And here we are now. Like we went through marriage therapy, which, we'll talk about this later on, y'all. Like marriage therapy, like people think like, especially for us as millennials, right? We were we're the generation that was just like, can we just talk about these things? Right. But the generation before us, made us think like, if you went to marriage therapy, if you went to therapy, you're broken, you're messed up, you're jacked up, right? But how many believe, like, we all know that 2020 changed the game for that.
It really
Like,
did.
it's okay to talk about it. And that's what we decided to do, which it was weird times too, right? Doing therapy for the first time virtually. We found like a really cool therapist. Like, the guy came in clutch, right?
He was a
We
blessing.
we just sat down and we just started talking about things that we started digging. We realized, like, a lot of the things on our foundation, babe, was just really messed up.
It
It was
was.
just jacked up. Like, we built our marriage, our relationship, even how we saw ourselves, how we saw each other, and even how we even saw ourselves alongside each other, even as parents, as friends, right? As business partners, like, how we did relationship with other people, right? All of it was messed up. And honestly, we went through a full reconstruction, and reconstructions were healthy. Like, every time I think about reconstruction, I think about a bulldozer, right? I think about a room, right? We're gonna come and reconstruct. Some of y'all, you live in LA, y'all know about reconstruction. You did it all to your face too, which is crazy.
More so Orange County now that we live
Yeah,
there.
that's crazy. Some people just need to go do a reconstruction, right? Because it wasn't working. But anyways, we did a reconstruction to our marriage, and honestly, it's a game changer. And I feel like we've been renewed, we've been restored. Reconciliation has happened even in our relationship, which is really cool. Like, I still love you. I'm still in love with you, and I can't imagine life without you. And I'm not gonna lie, during that time, I tried to imagine my life without
We
you.
thought about it a
I
few
try to
times.
imagine my life with other people, and I'm like, nah, she not gonna work. Nah, she talk more than Danny Lee.
Oh,
Nah, she not gonna work. And I'm like, do I even like white girls? I was trying to figure that whole thing out too.
babe,
Um,
I knew.
no, but you know what? I realized you're my type, like legit. I really do love you, and I really am in love with you, and I really don't want to do my life with nobody else. And we had to go through that full reconstruction for me to realize, like, you're my person, right? And it's tough too. And I realize, like, we've learned so much over the last couple of years, our personality types, our culture differences, the obvious differences, even raising kids, raising good kids in a bad world, right? That's been really big for us. And even how we're friends to other people. This reconstruction changed our relationships with others. It changed our perspective on finances. It changed our perspective even on God, which is crazy. Like, even how we see our kids, we'll look at our kids. I'm like, man, you're just like your mom. That's great. Hey, Dan Lee, can you come coach him through this moment? And I realize how much, so much of us, like our kids, need both of us, right? My son needs a man. He needs a dad. He needs that father figure, but he needs me to be this big, huge, gentle, loving, soft giant. And he also needs his mom, right? And there's times, like, I grew up in a household where we were very dismissive towards our mom. And our reconstruction that we went through, like, was big because it made me realize how much my son needs his mom, how much he needs that caring. And our daughter, we're not even talking, she needs a whole season for herself. We're not even
She
gonna talk about
actually
her.
definitely needs a whole episode because so many people don't know Brooklyn because she was an infant when we were doing the episodes. So she definitely needs her own episode by herself.
Yeah, and I honestly want to take a moment and even say our bad and sorry to
We're
those that we
sorry,
left hanging.
guys.
We left so many people hanging, right? Because so many people was along the journey with us, and some of you guys have actually found restoration in your relationships and so much good insight that even helped you. And so we actually had to work on ourselves before we decided to go any further to help other people. And so we're back, we're stronger, we're restored. Honestly, we found so much joy and peace in our relationship now, and we feel like we have gained tools that can help others in their relationships with other, even insight, perspective, faith, so many different things of parenting. And so I'm ready. We're back and we're going to continue digging, y'all. So to all of I think we called everybody our diggers,
I don't
right? To all your diggers out there.
I don't know if I can say that
You
one.
can't say that one?
I don't think
Oh
it comes
no, it
off
don't feel
right.
right. Well, we're gonna dig, right? Because we believe. Listen, it's like looking for gold. Every good thing has to be worked for, and so, like, even our relationship, like, it's in a good place now, but we had to work. We had to carve out time. We had to go through so many different things to dig to get to this moment right now. So when you guys see us and you see us in love and we actually care about each other, like, we fought because we cared about this. The moment you
Right.
stop fighting, it's signs that you stop caring. And so we cared about our relationship. We cared about how we saw each other, and we didn't like what we were seeing. And we thought, you know what? Let's pause from helping other people so that we can actually take a pause from them, work on ourselves, and actually come back even stronger, better for us to even continue digging. So we're excited about this season. We're excited about this time.
And I will say when it comes to digging, a few things. I'll say number 1, when you start digging, sometimes it gets messier before it gets better. And I think that that was a lot of what we had to like close off the doors a little bit because it did get messier and it wasn't fair. It wasn't right to have that out in Front Street, right?
Right.
Like we had to like hold on a second. Things just got messier as we were digging. So let's fix this first. So I will say to anybody out there that if you're hearing these conversations and you're challenged by them, know it can get messier before it gets better, and that's okay. Sometimes that's in the right direction because then you get down to the root of things. I also want you guys to know that digging is kind of the work that you do. When they talk about like you can go to therapy, but if you don't do the work, nothing changes. Digging is that work. These conversations are that work. I know that a lot of things that I experienced in the last few years were not being, I wasn't being so self aware of myself. I was maybe dismissive or cutting things off or not paying attention to certain things. And the work required me to be like, wait, why do I respond that way? Or I'm feeling something. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling, on the spot of like, I didn't do good enough. Like, that is the work, that is the digging. And I think I feel that because of my childhood or whatever that relates to. So I just want to encourage anyone who's in these conversations with us to not give up. We are a testimony that, if you continue to, I always tell couples this, if the two of you are both believers and you keep God in the middle of your relationship, and if you're both always heading and looking back to the Lord, He will bring you guys back together. And that is the testimony of us. I remember a specific gathering at our church, and we were singing a song said, God, turn it around. And I remember crying out to the Lord saying, I know that you can change our marriage, but I don't know if me and Pierre are strong enough to allow you to finish the work that you've begun. And that sometimes our humanness gets in the way. And so I just want to encourage anyone out there that is in that spot, or if you're digging and it's getting messier, keep digging so that you can get to the root, so that you can find the gold, and so that you can become a better person and more of a whole person, someone who's not so triggered, someone who's not so defensive. Like, those were things that I really had to work through, of triggers and defensive and fight mode. I'm a 4'11" girl that constantly feels like I need to fight sometimes. And those were things that I had to work through. So keep digging. And that's what we're here for. That's what we want to show, is that these conversations are tough. They're uncomfortable. A lot of times they come with tears, they come with emotions, but they always benefit if you get it all the way through to the end. So all that to say, let's dig together. We're so thankful that we are back here with you guys. We're ready for this journey. We've got so much to share with you. We have stories and things for days that we can't wait to share with you and be a part of you. And so if you want to be a part of this community with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow us on our podcast episodes. We would love to have a review from you. And hey, let's dig.